So we're here at IBM, and we want to talk about the iDataplex, but as you can see, there's this crowd formed in front of it. So I'm here with Keith Olsen, and we're going to go around back first because it's standing room only in the front. So come on around back. I'm gonna let you take over here and tell me all about the iDataplex, which is not a neighborhood theater, as I understand.
Right. So what we're going to show you is this is a rear door heat exchanger. The rear door heat exchanger is the same size as a normal door. So inside we have effectively a radiator that we run water through, and as you close this door, the hot air that's exiting the servers goes through this. The heat gets transferred to the water in the radiator and gets taken away. So effectively you'll get air that is the same temperature that came into the server, or at a certain rate that we run the water at a certain temperature, we can actually cool the air, that we can actually make the data center cooler using the rear door heat exchanger. So while we're back here, let me show you a couple other things that are kind of key. One of the things that the iDataplex is designed around is efficiency, electrical efficiency, power efficiency. So one of the things we see here that IBM got a patent for, or the back of the server chassis, this sheet metal is actually concave in shape. And by making it concave, we were able to make the holes a little bit larger, which made for less resistance. Therefore, the airflow is better. We could use a lower wattage fan and still achieve the same amount of cooling. So these are some of the mechanical design features that the iDataplex has that IBM got a patent for. The one last thing you'll see is the power that feeds the servers. There are docking stations. So you can see this one's been taken out, but so these server chassis slide out and they slide back in and they dock. So all the work we do, the cabling, any of the service, taking servers in or out, is all done from the other side, which is the front. So there's really no need to come to the back. One other item which we can show you is the one other difference for the iDataplex is we've taken a standard industry rack size, which was 42U, and 2 floor tiles, and instead of having the servers being inserted into the rack from the narrow side, we do it from the wide side. So that allows us to get double the density. We can get 84 servers in a 42U rack. In addition, there are some side pockets which I'll show you, which gives us an additional 16U of space for putting switches or PDUs in. One of our options is a 2U chassis. So this is the chassis that we've taken out of the rack, and one of the features is you want to remove a server, it's toolless. So just by pressing the tabs, you can slide a server out. So that's one 1U server. This is the second 1U server. Then in the back, also again without tools, this is the fan pack. So if there's an issue with a fan, you simply pop the fan pack out, you put in a replacement, and then you can look at whether you need to replace one or more fans if anything happens. But again, everything's done without tools, which speeds up the process and doesn't lead to lost screws or anything like that. The last item is the power supply. So this is the power supply. It serves both nodes, or both servers. This is rated about 93% efficiency, which basically means we're not generating a lot of waste heat. So we're not wasting electricity, which is then converted to heat, which then has to be removed from the rack.
Now, is this like IBM? They make you field trip these things like the military and and do it under 10 seconds, and the top comes off. So
a good thing about being toolless, if there's an issue, literally in 90 seconds you can unplug the network cables, pop the servers out, change whatever it is, pop it back in, and get it all done. You're not having servers down for any amount of time that anybody's going to have a problem with. So the other thing, just to some of the design aspects, is what we tried to do with iDataplex was to use all commodity parts. So this is actually a system board that we acquired from someone else. Therefore, we didn't have to spend money in designing or special manufacturing. So that lowers the acquisition cost for our customers. This has one quad-core processor. It has the ability to have 2 quad-core processors in each one, plus memory. We have hot swappable drives, either 2.5-inch or 3.5-inch. These happen to be 1 terabyte drives. And then we have 1 PCIe slot. So this is a traditional compute server node. Oh, the one other item is, if this were in the rack, we could remove the top server out of the chassis and the other one full. So I don't need to take both of them out if I want to work on the bottom. So that again helps in reducing the amount of effort if you need to take a server out for any reason. So if you want to come around, we have some room.
Sure.
So this is was an 84 server installation. We took some out because we have a partner, NextIO. We're collaborating on a GPU expansion unit, so we can attach any of the servers to their device and then give GPU processing capabilities. What you can see here are the way that a rack would come to you if you bought it. Everything would be installed. The network switches would be installed. The cabling would all be done, and fairly neatly, so that all you'd have to do is attach the power and then power it up and do your whatever software installations you wanted to do. So we have a number of different networks. We have Gigabit Ethernet, which all the nodes have, and each server has dual integrated Gigabit Ethernet adapters. A number of these have InfiniBand cards, and we have 5 different demos running on this at supercomputing. They're all taking advantage of one network or another. So here, InfiniBand, these have InfiniBand capability, but they're not being used on InfiniBand. These are just Gigabit Ethernet. These nodes are all being used with with InfiniBand, and we have our different partners. QLogic, we have one of their switches. Voltaire, one of their switches. We have a 10 gig E switch from Brocade, and I think that's so. Yeah, so those are the different switches that we have.
See, this here is a rather unique way to mount a switch in a rack system. That they take advantage. Seeing that they take advantage of the vertical space.
So I mentioned before that we can install 84 servers in a 42U rack. In addition, we have 16U of space, so that's where we put the network switches. So all of our partners have built network switches that are iDataplex ready, which means that typically a network switch would be in the back of a server, but the air would be blowing towards the back. These are in the front, but the air needs to blow towards the back, so they had to reverse the airflow. But all of our partners have done that, so we all have ready to implement. The other thing that many of our customers like is the fact that when you buy an iDataplex, in addition to being fully integrated when it gets to your site, if you have a problem with any of the components, whether it's an IBM or our partner components, you call IBM. IBM service will take care of the problem, whether it's the IBM component or one of our partner components. So they don't have to call a number of different service sites.
One throat to choke.
Yes.
I think this. I've seen an iDataplex before, but I think this is the most populated one I've ever seen, and I think it's a very interesting idea, and the efficiency's certainly got to be a big selling point.
There are 2 things that are driving most of our customers now. One, obviously, is the energy efficiency, and not only from an ecological perspective, but from an energy saving in the dollar cost to what you're paying out to run your servers. The other thing is we now support Intel Nehalem chips, which is giving us tremendous computational power in this footprint. So the combination of the more powerful processors and the density of the rack and the amount of electricity that you can save gives us a tremendous solution in the HPC space.
Okay, well, thank you, Keith, and we're gonna move on, and we have a little bit more ground to cover, and that's the iDataplex from IBM.